Welcome to Lug to Lug, the channel where two mates talk about watches. Ollie, this is our first YouTube video.
Certainly is, yeah. And this is Ben, by the way, everyone. He didn't introduce himself there. And this is, yeah, as he said, our very first YouTube video, so please take it easy on us. We're not quite at the sort of bark and jack or even clockbait level yet. We've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel on watches for many, many years because we're both very passionate about watches. We both have kind of watch Instagrams, but this just seemed like the logical next step. So we've finally taken the plunge. So I think the next logical thing to do is probably a wrist check. I think that's what people normally do on these. So I'm wearing my Aston Banks Fortitude today with the sand dial, which matches my sand t-shirt perfectly.
Very nice, very nice. I've got the Oris Divers 65 on in blue, which coincidentally is the watch that we'll be reviewing in today's video.
Yes, a new purchase by Ben.
Yeah, so it's only a few weeks old, still very much in the honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty to talk about with this watch, so let's get started. To begin with, this is a 40mm case diameter watch. We have a 13mm thickness, 47.5 lug to lug, and lastly, but probably most importantly, a 20mm lug width. So very much a strap monster.
Yeah, I love that.
Working inside the watch, you've got an SW200 Elaborate movement, which I think is the second tier movement that Sleeta offer within the SW200 range. Yeah. But Oris have added better shock resistance, which I believe makes the movement a little bit more robust and yeah, probably less likely to need to be serviced less frequently. You've got 100 meters water resistance, which for some people is absolutely fine if it's just a desk diver.
Yeah, I think for most people that's fine, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you need. I mean, yeah, who's really going to go further than a couple of meters?
Yeah.
Retail price, it's going to be around 1,600. It does fluctuate a little bit from site to site. I actually got this off AMJ Watches, an online retailer, for 1,270. So that was a very decent price to get this watch.
Yeah, expert negotiator over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. And this is all British pounds that we're talking in, if there's any international viewers, and if you can tell from our accents, we are British.
Yeah.
And we do live in London, so that's, any prices that we mention are in pounds. Yes. What made you choose this particular watch, Ben? Like, were there any other watches you were looking at? Did you have like a set kind of list of criteria you were looking for, or
so
how did the purchase come about, basically?
Yeah, so I think when we went to the Oris boutique, didn't we? I kind of tried this on and immediately liked it, and it was a case of after I tried it on, I really couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of you guys can relate. When you've tried on a watch and you really like it, you end up going home, researching it, looking at all the wrist shots on Instagram.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was one of those watches where that was the case. So yeah, there wasn't really another watch that I was interested in. I guess to some extent the Maurice Lacroix Acon.
Yeah.
That was another, I would say, watch that I was interested in to some extent, but I hadn't tried that one on before. And to be honest, the Oris just felt really good on the wrist, so I did go for that one.
Yeah. And I guess that shows the importance of actually going into store and trying on watches.
Yeah.
Because especially with Instagram, I think the images that people put out there often look so much better that you sort of build up a big image in your head, and then when you actually put something on, it doesn't live up to it. Whereas I think this was almost the opposite, where I think the pictures online almost don't do this one justice.
No, so it's got a very deep blue dial which plays very well in the light, and that was something again that sort of I was attracted to very early on when I tried it on in the shop. I think Ollie noticed that I just was looking down at my wrist. It's a beautiful watch. Got a sapphire crystal. It's quite a pronounced domed sapphire crystal, actually. Which I guess lends itself to the vintage aesthetic a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got a 6 o'clock date window, which I always prefer. I always feel it makes the dial look a little bit more symmetrical.
And is it colour matched the date window? Like, is it the same colour as the dial?
It's actually no. It's a black backdrop with white.
Okay.
Yeah, white numerals.
But
so
it's not very. I think they've done a good job.
It merges in well with the dial. I think because the blue is so dark.
Yeah.
It does merge in well with the rest of the dial.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a nicely integrated date window there, actually.
Yeah, and the other thing was the tapered bracelet. It tapers down from 20 at the lugs to 16 millimeters. So yeah, the clasp. So it does wear very nicely, and it's got a very slim profile. So if you look down the barrel, as they say, it's a very slim profile and hugs the wrist nicely. So
because when you hear 13 mil, it doesn't sound particularly thin, but I think because it is such a domed crystal, as you say, probably almost like 3 mil of that is just crystal.
Just crystal, yeah.
And it does wear really nicely on the wrist, especially with that kind of shorter lug to lug.
Yeah,
which is good.
In terms of drawbacks, I guess again in terms of the crystal, the edges, because it is so pronounced, very kind of domed. The edges, you tend to get a little bit of impairment when you're looking at the markers. It doesn't.
It distorts a bit.
Distorts, yeah. But I mean, that's just it's not really a big issue. But
I actually quite like that. I think it adds a bit of character to it. Like, it makes it look a bit more interesting in some ways, but then it does make it very hard to photograph. Like, the light bounces off it in loads of different angles.
Yeah, it tends to photograph better in like low lighting, I think.
Okay, because you don't get the reflections.
You don't get the reflections,
Yeah, so that's one to bear in mind, I guess. If you're only buying a watch to take Instagram photos, this probably isn't the best one. But that's not a reason to buy any watch, in my opinion, anyway. And in terms of like Oris as a brand, was that one of the reasons why you bought it? Like, have you?
Yeah, so it was actually you that introduced me to Oris with your Divers 65.
Yeah, you copied me basically.
I copied you basically, yeah. But I went down the Aquas route initially, which I still have actually. I have that in a black dial.
Upcoming video on that, probably.
Upcoming video, yeah. So yeah, that my first experience of Oris was with Ollie's watch, and then I bought the Aquas. So they are a good brand. They're a very good brand.
Yeah.
If you're looking to getting into entry level luxury watches, they are probably one of the brands to look at. Yeah,
I think so. And they're one of the few brands that's still fully independent as well, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah, that's always important.
They've been over 100 years in Switzerland, and it seems as if they're slowly kind of moving up the pricing ladder, like with their in-house movements coming in.
C400.
I think it's a brand that's probably going to continue to become almost more and more premium and get more into that Tudor space. But then this cost you what, like 1,300 quid basically, which is you couldn't get the same from Tudor for that. I don't think. And is there anything like, I know some people don't really like faux rivets. How do you feel about the faux rivets on the bracelet?
Yeah, so I was in that group initially because I know with your Tudor GMT that also has faux rivets.
Yeah, it has got the faux rivets.
And that was it's one of those things that until you try the watch on, I mean, for me, it's not a big problem at all. It's something that I don't really notice.
Yeah.
It's not a big problem, but I think there is a certain group of watch lovers that they're probably not too keen on it.
Yeah.
I think they'd rather have a continuation of the pins rather than the faux rivets. But again, it's
they're quite subtle on that one as well. Can I have a look actually?
Sure.
It looks like they're really I feel like people, I don't really understand why they bother people, because when it's on the wrist you don't see them. It's only when you're looking at the side profile.
Yeah.
And even then it's quite subtle.
The only thing I would say with the bracelet is the fact that it's there's no quick release system, and I do think luxury brands do need to have a look at that in more detail. I do think that's something that if they offered it would add to the watch, I think.
Yeah, it's just easier, isn't it?
It's just easier, and you don't end up scratching the lugs, which it's never nice to kind of get scratches on the watch. I got lug scratches within a few. I had this watch for 2 days. I then put it on a leather strap and immediately scratched the lugs. It's just not. It's not ideal. But again, is it a deal breaker? Probably not.
No. Okay.
Or if we're wanting to improve the watch, that's probably something that we would want. But
and is there a micro extension or anything in that bracelet, or is it?
So there's not a on the fly adjustment, but there are, I should say, there are 5.
Okay.
Kind of
so there's plenty of adjustability, but just
plenty of
nothing on the fly.
Nothing on the fly.
Yeah. I think I guess those are almost the only two. Well, they're not massive issues, really, are they? But those are probably the two things that I think more people are starting to expect watches to have: quick release bracelets and micro adjust.
I think so.
The majority of like micro brands do now, and it seems as if more and more Swiss brands are starting to do it. But that's
signed crown, which is always a nice additional feature, I guess. It just shows a little bit more attention to detail. Overall, it's just it's a lovely watch to wear. It's one of those watches that I think when you wear it, you can't help but look down at your wrist. Not necessarily wanting to even tell the time. You just want to admire it for what it is. It is a lovely watch, and I'm very pleased I've got it. You know,
I think they did a great job on the shade of blue and the combination of that with the kind of faux vintage loom.
It definitely is a nice combination.
And the applied markers that are kind of silver and shiny with the loom. I think it's a really, it's nothing too groundbreaking, but I think they've just done a very good job of executing it. And
it's a mostly brushed. In fact, it is all brushed. I would say. So you're not going to pick up scratches as easily, and if you do, they're not going to be as noticeable. And again, I think that lends itself to the fact that it is a vintage inspired reissue.
It's not blingy, is it?
It's not blingy at all.
It's not shiny.
It's an understated diver.
So overall, seems like you're pretty happy with your
purchase. I am very happy with it. It's definitely going to stay in the collection for many years, I would hope. And it's a watch that I'll enjoy, having in the collection for many years to come.
Cool.
Well,
thanks for sharing, Ben.
No problem.
And I think that concludes our first ever YouTube video. We made it through. It's probably terrible, but if you did like it, please subscribe.
Like the video, subscribe. We will. Our intention is to make many videos over the coming weeks and months. So stay tuned and check out our Instagram as well at lugtolugwatches. We will put a link in the description.
And we'll be posting some pictures on the Instagram. You can see Ben's watch on a leather strap if you're interested in seeing that. Because I know some people, you like leather, don't you? And that's it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
I forgot to say something. Should I just say it now?
Say it now, and it can be added on at the end.
And also, if there's anything that you agree, disagree with, you have any questions, please drop a comment in the comment section, and we'll be happy to respond. And until next time, we've been Lug to Lug, and goodbye.
See you later. Bye.
Oh my god, it's so hard.
It is hard.